Oh, little delayed on the music there. I hope you guys I trust that you had a fantastic weekend last weekend. If you were celebrating the Bunny Day, the Easter, I did. If I know you weren't asking, but I'm going to go ahead and share with you. I did have a fantastic weekend. Got to spend some time with my family, had some like a lamb and made some homemade bread, did all that good stuff. So I hope you guys did as well. Hope you guys had a good time. So this week in real estate, we have some things to talk about because apparently CoreLogic has come out and said that we've bottomed out of the housing market. I don't know how they've come up with this, but there's some other forces that disagree with them. They say that we are not near the bottom yet. So, I mean, we barely have seen a blip in home prices, like they barely have like trickled down in some areas. Don't get me wrong. There's some places around California that have seen big decreases. Phoenix, Arizona, of course. We talked about Boise, Idaho about 1 million times. Austin, Texas as well. But, there's still areas that are like still booming. Like places you don't think about, like New Jersey is still booming. There's many places around Massachusetts that are still booming. There's like all the Northeast area is still having quite a bit of an increase. It never was to the point where it was like in Austin, Texas and Phoenix, Arizona. So the places that boomed the most during the pandemic seem to be getting hit the hardest with price reductions. But most other areas like remained flat for the hiccup in the housing market, which I said was going to happen, was going to go flat. But we're going to talk about that a little bit more. Yeah. See, even Clark, the realtor says, realtor, sorry, I gotta say that right. He even says that prices in Atlanta in Georgia are staying firm. Yep. All around the Atlanta area, they had a flat moment there for a moment, but the investors were still coming in. What are the investors doing? Buying the most expensive houses in the area. That's what they do. Inexpensive houses in the area. That's what they do. They find a hot market. They buy the cheap homes and then they rent them out. Yep. Oh, so Kevin just posted a video about Boxable a day ago. What are your thoughts? We'll get into that in a minute. Nowhere, not anywhere close to me, Metro DC. Yeah, prices in Metro DC are still pumping hard. Very, very, very high, very high. So we're going to get into the first article first, because this is the article that came out. It actually came out in Fortune magazine, but it's behind a paywall and I refuse to pay for that. But Yahoo News basically redid the story using the data from the Fortune magazine article and reposted. I like Yahoo News for that because those paywalls are obnoxious. So home prices will bottom out in 2023, according to the experts. All right, here we go. Home prices are expected to bottom out in 2023 and the return to a more normal growth, according to a recent Zillow survey of experts. But it's also CoreLogic said that too. Nationally, prices are predicted to drop 1.6% through the end of the year, with the largest declines in expensive metro areas. Growth over the next 4 years is expected to average a 3.5 comparable long-term average. New home sales could decline to 2016 year levels. Let me just stop right there before we go any further, Eddie. The thing is that like a 3% increase in home prices over a year is a normal market. That's not a red flag by any means. And then they're saying that new home sales could decline to 2016 levels. New home builders haven't been building houses. So unless they're sitting on inventory, I can't imagine new home sales declining unless there's a ton of new home construction that's on the market. They stopped building over a year ago or slowed down building quite a bit. So I can't, where they get these numbers, I have no idea. The housing market is resetting, though we're seeing the early signs of a new buyer interest earlier this year. Prices should generally flatten out in 2023, helping buyers catch up, said Zillow senior economist Jeff Tucker. It has been flat, Jeff. All right. The sheer number of people in the first-time homebuyer range and the lack of inventory should limit price declines. And a return to more normal growth would be welcome after the roller coaster ride of home prices lately. This is another thing, though. First-time homebuyers have been struggling since the beginning of the pandemic to find a house. There isn't a house available for them to purchase. They would love to buy a house, but there isn't anything that for them to buy and buy at an affordable price or interest rate at this moment. Oh, here we go. Affordability constraints have limited the demand for housing, according to Freddie Mac. Lower mortgage rates in January brought some buyers back into the market, but now rates for the 30-year fixed rate are closing at 7%. This has made it difficult for potential buyers to take action, particularly for repeat buyers in existing mortgage rates less than half of the current rates. Yeah, Eddie, we got to pull up the mortgage rates. They're under 7 right now. A Zillow experts panel said mortgage rates could trend downwards after the first quarter. However, experts pointed out that the falling rates are significantly more helpful in terms of affordability as compared with lower prices. If the home prices haven't dropped in price and mortgage rates continue to be higher than they were, affordability is still a problem. Like, what in the world? Like, they talk out of both sides of their mouth. Like, yeah, well, home prices are up, but the mortgage rates are going to be down. So yeah, that will still make it affordable. No, it won't. No, it won't. No, it won't. We don't have enough homes. All right, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. I'm going to address the here, mortgage rates. Oh, they're right at 7%. Right at 7%. They were trickling right under 7% towards the middle of the week last week. I hadn't checked it out, but somebody asked at the beginning of the stream what I thought about Boxable and Meet Kevin's video. I haven't seen his video, honestly. I met with that company a little over a year ago. They have a product that I just want them to be able to sell it to people. They advertise it a lot, but I've yet to seen it in anybody's backyard. I've seen lots of them moving down the road. I've seen them in their back of their facility where they've got lots of them lined up. I still have yet to have seen a regular person have it in their backyard. Sure, Elon Musk has it, but I'm waiting to see the actual home in somebody's backyard. They've lived in it for 3-4 months, and they could give a real assessment of it. Because I mean, anybody can walk through a house. You don't know what it really is like until you live in it. So, I mean, they're doing something that nobody else has done, which is they have made mass production of homes, small homes, on a scale most companies can only dream about. I'm very hopeful that they can pull it off. I'm just waiting for them to actually do that. That's my opinion. There's my 2 cents. I know you didn't ask it. We already have a question coming in. It's creepy when people call you asking you to buy your house. They comb through public records or something. Okay, yes. So if you have a home in an older neighborhood, and it seems like you've lived there for quite some time, investors and wholesalers will come through and say, hey, look, I know that you've got, you need some repairs. I saw the roof work or whatever. I'm interested in purchasing your home. Would you consider selling right now? And they'll throw you a number. Yeah, that's pretty common practice. I don't like it either. It was a lot more common practice when people had phone numbers that were tied to the address of your house, because people could go through remember the yellow pages? Remember those? You remember the books that they used to throw on your driveway? Yeah. It was a lot more common then, but yeah, it's a common practice. I don't like it either. I don't like sales calls on my phone whatsoever. None. Gary Reed says, I canceled my Boxable order after waiting 2 years. I called them and they couldn't tell me where I was on the wait list. And that's what I'm hearing from a lot of people. I don't know for a fact of the comment that I had gotten earlier this week, but they had said that they called and asked for their deposit back, and they have yet to have gotten their deposit back. I don't know how true that is. It was just a comment that was left on my channel, but I'm seeing more of those. So I don't know. I'm just very hopeful that the company can pull off what they say they can pull off. Lawnmower says, in the last calendar year in my neighborhood, homes for sale increased 9%, and the median list price has gone up 17%. And that is common in a lot of areas. And that's why it's very important, no matter where you are in the United States, to check with a local real estate agent that is proficient in that specific area you're either trying to buy or sell. Because it does not matter what you read as far as headlines. It doesn't even matter what I say. The only market you really need to know about and be educated about is the one you're trying to buy and sell in. And only a local real estate agent is going to be able to pull up those numbers from the MLS, raw numbers, right then and there. And then the data doesn't lie. It will tell you exactly what that housing market is doing in that little area, even if you just want it for that specific neighborhood. So you can see how many homes have sold in that neighborhood. And if it's a bit on the incline, or if the numbers have been decreasing as far as price is concerned, or does it seem like a lot of people are selling all of a sudden, but they still are gaining increase on their prices? I mean, it's just something to look at. There's so many different factors when it comes into a housing market. Nobody on a national scale can give you solid advice. You have to talk to somebody local, because I mean, you have to put in an account for like industries in the area. You got to look at layoffs in the area. You got to look at so many different things. The schools in the area. Like, do your due diligence. Always investigate ahead of time, because it doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter what the headlines say. It's only going to matter for your specific area you're wanting to buy and sell. Robert says, question, how's the best way to purchase a second home without using the equity from my own home? Well, that depends on your credit. If you have a good credit, you can buy a second home. If you have a good down payment, you can buy a second home. You don't have to dip into your equity. You won't qualify necessarily for the same kind of loan products you would if you were buying a home and it was going to be the home that you live in. But you can always check with like a local business lender in the area that will tell you all the different loan packages that you could qualify for. If you're going to do that, I would strongly suggest, especially if you're going to rent it out, go ahead and create yourself like a LLC or an S corp. Talk to an accountant, figure out what the best strategy is for you. So that way, if anything happens to that house, it doesn't affect your personal finances as well. David Mercer said, they're still looking to build like mad in Arizona. Wait until the Airbnb houses get dumped back, and the BlackRock houses are going to get dumped at the same time. I don't think the BlackRock houses are going anywhere. Or the Blackstone, BlackRock, any of those companies, they're not going to get rid of those houses. They've been buying up houses all over the United States since 2007, 8. Yeah, that's when they started all this nonsense. And they found out it was a cash cow. And the more that they can own people and make them do things, the more they're going to do it. I don't think they're a good company. And when it comes to the Airbnb business, I've talked about this before. Airbnbs don't make up that much of the housing market. And there are a lot of those Airbnbs are like, if you take the whole collection, I think it's right under 848,000 homes are Airbnbs. A good portion of them are things like tents, campers, tiny homes. Those aren't houses that necessarily people are going to live in. Then if you take that, and there's so many people that are like, well, we turn this into a short-term rental, we're going to go ahead and turn this into a long-term rental. There's lots of people that are looking to rent a home. And then a lot of times too, they're not the houses that are necessarily the most affordable homes that are going to be those Airbnb homes. So we're still at a shortage of homes that need to be available for people to either rent or purchase in that lower affordable range. We just don't have enough. So, I mean, Arizona has its own unique problems. They do have a lot more building, and same with Austin, Texas, than some other areas like Boston and even some areas of Miami. There just isn't any land to build anything. So those areas are going to be less likely to see big price changes like they did, like they probably will in Austin, in Phoenix as well. Phoenix as well. I don't want to buy a house though. I just want a plot of land to build my own and have enough space for community support agriculture. So that's the dream, right? You buy a piece of dirt, and then you build the house that you want. This is when I'm going to get my tinfoil hat on, because we were talking about BlackRock and Blackstone. I don't know where my little tinfoil hat went. Oh, I have it. Hold on. I got to show you this. So I have this theory that like building materials and the price of building materials, that's all like stocks, that's all manipulated. So if you notice, like concrete went up crazy, timber went up crazy. And I don't think they want people to check out and not try to buy into the regular life. They want you to buy into the regular life. They don't want you to check out and take your piece of land and build your own enterprise. Like that whole like off the grid living thing makes them nervous, because then you're not a cog in the wheel. So how do they do that? Well, they just increase the price of building materials to the point where it's unaffordable. I mean, and not only that, we don't even have enough people to build houses. They've had a decrease in labor in construction for the last like 5 years. It was terrible during the pandemic. We're going to be starting to see a lot more people, and I'm interested, especially like in Texas and Phoenix, Arizona, how many people bought a house during that time. They're having big time issues because there were people cutting corners or were not qualified to do the jobs that they were supposed to do. You're starting to see little articles here and there, and saw some posts on Facebook of people that were like, I just bought a house a year and a half ago, and this is all happening. This one girl, she had a 2-story house, and she walked in her house after 2 months, and a pipe had busted, and the water was just flowing down in over her balcony, just like a river. She was like, oh my gosh. And it was because of something the builder did. They didn't check everything. And there was no way for a home inspector to even know that unless they were going through with one of those cameras when it was brand new. But, most home inspectors don't even think of that when it's a brand new house. So it'll be interesting. Thomas Morrison, sorry. What are you willing to do for renters, i.e. appliances work, but renters complain about the performance of the appliances? Well, my renters don't complain about them. Anytime we have a problem with appliances, we have them fixed or we replace them. we're like, sometimes it's just not worth. I don't know how it is in your specific area, but any time we have to call a plumber or we have to call like electrician for any of those types of things, it's like pulling teeth. So in some cases, especially like with a dishwasher, with those stupid onboard computers, it's more expensive to replace the onboard computer than it is to replace the stupid dishwasher altogether. So I just replace it. I don't know. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with my renters and the appliances in there. In some rental areas, they don't even provide the refrigerator. We do. We provide them here. We had one lady. She stole my washer and dryer out of it, and she like ruined the refrigerator. She left the door open, and we couldn't get in there because that's the law. So we're just sitting there watching food rot, and rats come in. And she just left the door open, and the refrigerator was shot.
Super chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
Super chat. Thank
you. Jackie Baker out of New Jersey. She's got a $20 super chat. Thank you, Jackie. Jackie. Yeah, the thing is you always have a risk with renters, by the way. Anytime you have a renter in your house, there's always a risk every single time. So you're going to have to budget for that. It's one of those things. You got to budget for it. Yep. Mike Richard says, Kristina, how close to the former fair market value do you think homes, real estate land will be at the end of the early this year or early 2024? Fair market value. We haven't been at fair market value in 2 years. I mean, if I'm going to be honest, when I think of fair market value, I think of the average income of the area matches with the average price of a home in the area. We've been nowhere near that in over 2 years. That would require home prices to fall significantly to get to that point. I hope it doesn't happen that. I would like to see some reprieve though, because our incomes, national incomes, have not been going up. And we're in this weird spot with real estate that housing is costing way too much. People aren't making enough. And the first time home buyer, anybody buying their first home is finding it very difficult to find a home that's in their salary range. So many people like to point fingers and say, oh, that generation's lazy and they won't give up their frappe. And so blah, 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 blah. But if you actually put in the cost of living that it costs. Thank you, Johnny O. If you put in the cost of living what it cost our parents to buy their first home, and then you put in the cost of living today, it's nowhere near. I mean, they had so much more disposable income than we ever could even imagine. So yeah, I don't know. I think if we remain flat for at least 2 to 3 years, I would be okay with that. I know that some people would be or want to choke me by saying that, but if we remain flat for a couple of years, that would balance things out as long as income's increased. So that's my thought. Thank you so much, Johnny O, for the $100 super chat. I appreciate you. Question on Boxable homes. Let's take a look. See, this is what would be the cost of bringing in plumbing and electrical install from the street or off your home to Boxable on the average? Thank you. I'm from Utah. Oh, that is so area specific. I won't even throw a number out at you. Like how far is the electric to the road? How do you need a well? Are you going to need a well, or can you bring it in from the city? How much are those permits going to cost you? Do you need a driveway? I mean, there's so many different factors. I'm not even going to throw a number at you. There's just no way. No way. Oh, wow. Another super chat.
Super chat. Thank you.
Thank you, ZB. That's a cool screen name.
Super chat. Thank you.
ZB, thank you for this $20 super chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. That always helps the streams out. My big tea. I have to, when I'm doing this by myself, man, I have to drink a lot. My throat gets sore. But anytime you are doing any kind of house, it doesn't matter if it's a Boxable or a modular home or a manufactured home, you have to estimate those costs, especially if you're rolling it into a loan. They won't give you a loan until you have estimates of that cost ahead of time. So always factor that in before you even decide on anything. You find your piece of land, find out how much it's going to cost to have any kind of utilities brought out from the street to your house. So the OP Kingdom says 3-bedroom, 4-bath houses in my area are going for $500,000. Wow. I have no idea how we could actually get into a place, but professionals we bring in over 100,000 can buy, can't buy anything. That's what I'm talking about. They make over $100,000 a year and they can't afford anything there. $500,000 for a house is crazy. I mean, I bought my first. This is the craziest thing. If you think about it, my husband was selling cars. No, he worked for Sprint at the time. He worked for Sprint and I was a hairdresser, and we were able to buy our first home because the cost of living and our incomes were able for us to buy our first home. A person doing that same exact job, cutting hair at JCPenney in the mall in Orlando, Florida, and selling phones at Sprint today could not afford to buy a home in Orlando, Florida. It does not exist. And that is a massive problem. Massive. I can't understand why we're not building enough affordable homes. I understand why builders got gun shy with the fact of building too many homes and sitting on inventory. I don't blame them for that, but something needs to be done. All these politicians keep flapping their lips. They're going to do something about affordable housing. And their answer to this always is, we're going to build more apartments. But I don't know about you. I don't want to live in an apartment for the rest of my life. I didn't want to live in an apartment for the rest of my life when I was living in an apartment. I couldn't wait to have my own house. And most people do. And the fact that they're trying to sell it like, oh, well, young people just don't really want to own. They just want to rent. That is such horse pucky. That is such a lie that the corporations want us to believe. Funding Secure says that for a second home, can you use a VA loan? You have to talk to your lender. If you have a current VA loan on your current house, there is a way you can still get a VA loan on your second house, but I think it has to be in different cities, and you have to be stationed in one city, and that's why you had to leave the other city so you use the VA loan for your second home. Talk to your lender about that. That's my understanding of it. I could be completely wrong, but definitely check with your lender on that. But I have clients that have done that. They were stationed at Fort Bragg, then they came down here in Louisiana. They were able to get a VA loan here, even though they had a VA loan in the other state. So, Trevor Smith, here we go. Funding secure. You can't use a VA loan for a second home or an investment property. Oops, I was wrong. Thank you, Trevor. Hey, but Trevor, damn, Trevor, I should have you on here. Oh, poop. Trevor's a good friend of mine, Trevor Smith. Oh, yeah. But yes, you can have 2 VA loans. Ha. I was right. Okay. I thought that was right. I'm glad I was like, for a minute there, I was like, was I wrong about that? I could have sworn that's what happened. Floyd Holt says Airbnbs are crashing in Atlanta. Saw a few channels talking about it. What does that mean, though? Crashing in Atlanta. Airbnbs are crashing in Atlanta. What does that mean? So what? They're going to turn it into long-term rentals? Oh, or what? They're going to sell them? I mean, that isn't a crash. I mean, that's just an individual person that made an investment and it ended up being a bad one. How many people is that really going to affect? I mean, it's probably a positive thing for the people that are trying to find an affordable house. I don't consider that a crash. I think that's almost like a good thing, because then that means there's more supply for people to purchase and maybe some negotiation power, in my opinion. Not so great for the sellers, but I mean, that's their investment property. They gotta pencil that in anyway. Question: what is the lock-in effect? Surely there's a mortgage rate that will unlock people who are locked into ultra low rates, right? Will that help release some supply? Okay, so I don't know if you live in Canada or not. So in Canada, I believe they have to renegotiate their mortgages every 5 to 10 years or something. But here in the United States, we're very fortunate in the fact that you can have a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. So if you have a 30-year fixed rate mortgage at, let's just say 2.75%, most likely you're not going to be real amped to sell your house, because we're not going to be seeing 2.75 in quite some time, maybe never in my lifetime again. And I'm over 50. So it could happen. Yeah. So the incentive to sell isn't going to be there as much. Now, there are people that have something like what they call an ARM. It's an adjustable rate mortgage. So after so many years, it adjusts to a certain percentage rate. Those people, and this got people into a lot of trouble last time, those people are going to be more likely to sell or refinance in the future. But, time will tell. Time will tell what happens. I feel like something bit my foot. I feel like there's like a critter under my desk. I don't know what that is. Lawnmower wants you to know that my coffee mug is normal small size. It's just me. I'm very tiny. He says that I'm very small. I'm not exactly a big girl. Hey, Paige. How's it going? PB&J says, do you have to be served with papers to be evicted, or do they just come out and pull your stuff out on the streets? Now, this will depend on the state. Now, here in Louisiana, you cannot enter the house. If someone has not paid their rent, you have to wait so many days before you enter the house, or you're considered trespassing. With our specific renter, we knew she had moved out of the house, but she still was on the lease till the end of the month. So we could not enter the house until the end of that lease date, which was like the 31st, let's just say. And then we had to wait an additional 10 days for the justice of the peace to put the notification on the door. And then afterwards we could cut the tape and go through into the house. We did it legally. I mean, I know lots of people would have just gone in anyways because they knew they weren't coming back, but I wasn't going to get in trouble. I'm one of these people. I'm so scared of getting in trouble. So, but that will depend on the area. Some people have sheriff's department comes out. I know in California, it's almost impossible to evict somebody. It takes an act of Congress to evict somebody. But in other states, they'll just, you just go up to the sheriff's department and say, I need to evict this person. This is their lease. They haven't paid in 3 months. And the sheriffs come out and start pulling people out of the house immediately. It just depends. You're going to have to check with your state's rules for when it comes to eviction. Dina Maston says, are some cities and towns really changing zoning laws that will actually make a positive impact on the housing market? So the Biden administration, just over 2 years ago now, introduced some proposals that would work with the government to make some areas that were, let's just say, were mixed use, turn them into residential building. Some other areas that were like vacant farmland and turn them into multifamily housing. Supposedly they're still working on that. They've even had affordable housing initiatives where they filled the whole national mall with affordable housing homes, modular homes, manufactured homes, tiny homes, all sorts of stuff. Time will tell. I mean, there are some areas that are actually putting it in action, but they, of course, it's federal grant money. So some states don't want to take federal grant money because then that means they are telling them what to do, so some states are like, no, we're not going to take that federal grant money. We're just going to go ahead and let people not just live unaffordably. The tinfoil hat, we've got some tinfoil hat moments in real estate, that's for sure. And the more crazier it sounded to me several years ago, the more I was like, this is pretty spot on. I'm like, my biggest tinfoil hat thing is that companies like Blackstone, BlackRock, Vanguard, all of them are just trying to churn people into renters. They don't want us to own real estate at all. They want to own it all so they can own us forever. Charles says, are real estate investors starting to get foreclosed on down in Florida? I've been seeing a lot of videos and stories about it. I wouldn't... So I would look for real data. So anybody can say anything in a video or a story. Like for the last 3 years, there's a whole group of, I call them the housing crash bros, that have been saying the housing market is crashing for the last 3 years. And if some of those people that had listened to those people, they would have gotten in on interest rates that were like historically low. But they kept promising, well, the market's going to crash and home prices are going to crash. Well, here we are 3.5 years later, and housing markets have not crashed yet. I mean, like, of course, at some point, some of those guys will be right. But I mean, how long are you going to wait? Like, how long are you going to wait? I wouldn't take anything that you see in a video until you actually go talk to a real estate agent and ask them, are you seeing foreclosures of real estate investment properties in the area? Not only that, start looking on foreclosure websites and start checking out your local like tax assessors and see if any of those houses are been foreclosed on. I don't know. I'm on YouTube. The name of the game is try to get people to click on a video. We use sensational titles to get people to click on the video. Some people are more honest than others. Other people just are really looking forward to that YouTube money at the end of the month that they get. And the more ridiculous and outrageous and more sensational that title is, the more clicks they get. So the more money they get. So it doesn't matter. It means nothing to them that they're lying. They have to know sometimes they're lying. It means nothing, but they'll just keep doing it because that makes them feel good, like, oh, look I got all these views. Lying to people. I would never in a million years. I couldn't sleep at night. I don't know why they do it. I just would say, just really investigate before you decide any of that stuff is true. Ooh, I wanted to tell you guys too. I want to ask this. Have any of y'all seen your homeowners insurance? Any of you that own a home, did your home insurance go up this year, and how much did it go up by? Because mine went up a lot, like a whole heck of a lot, like a ridiculous amount. Hey, super awesome girls, still not enough homes here in New Jersey. Lost another bidding war last week, and that's what I'm hearing. Yeah, yep. The Great Gatsby with a $4.99 super chat. Kristina, hey, Kristina, my wife and I bought in DMV area first house, $395. We have a family income of $148,000. Prices are out of control. 3-bedroom, 2-bath townhome. All right, so they're making almost $150,000 a year. $150,000 a year, and the only thing they can find was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath townhome. Like 2 years ago, they would have bought a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in a neighborhood with a backyard and a front yard and not connected, like it's just so crazy. So crazy. Somebody said my property taxes went up. Property tax went up 20%, and then the insurance went up $200. Somebody else said $200. Mine went up $800. $800, and that's the cheapest. I went and called the guy up. I'm like, dude, how come this is so much? And then my property insurance went up about $500. Crazy, right? That did not feel good. That did not feel good at all. I pay them separately too, because if I had paid them in my mortgage, I would not know how much had gone up, because I'd be like, oh, okay, I just pay the extra. I want to know. That's why I pay them separately. Thomas has a follow-up question. Says, I have nitpicky renters that complain about clothes not coming out perfectly from the washer, or complain about having one garage door opener instead of 2 and more. Oh, well, when you sign your lease agreement, with the washer and dryer, I would just say that's just a washer and dryer. I'm sorry. But when it comes to the clickers for the garage door, find out how much those are. I don't think they're any more than like $35, and you just reprogram it. It's not a big deal. You can, like, anytime you have a garage door opener and you get new renters, you should probably reprogram those anyways, because that's what they do. They'll try to keep it. Some people will keep it. And you don't want the old renters to be able to get the new renters stuff. So yeah, just go on whatever the maker of your garage door opener is. Just get them another one. Let them have 2. I think everybody should have 2 anyway. Yeah, but the whole thing with the clothes, tell them to go pound sand. That's ridiculous. Your washer and dryer is just that. It washes, it dries. It doesn't iron and fold your clothes for you. I'm sorry. I'm not a maid service. What the heck? Who do I complain about? Who do I complain to about my washer and dryer not folding my clothes and putting them away? Floyd said they're turning their Airbnb houses into rentals way above the normal rates. Not too many people could afford a $3,000 to $4,000 a month rent in Atlanta. And Floyd, that's not the only area that's doing it. It's all happening in like San Francisco and all around San Francisco, the Bay Area, all that area, that a lot of people, there's more vacant properties than there are people that need to buy homes. But a lot of them are second homes. And then other ones, they have them for rent, but they have them for rent too high. But they're not willing to go down. They'd rather sit on it. I don't know why. I wouldn't want to sit on it. Like, rents have gotten out of control. And then the sellers are willing to sit on it. They're like, well, somebody will rent it at some point. And then there's other people that are like, I've been in this rental house for the last, 3 years, and now they're raising it another $300 a month. But then they can't find anywhere else to rent, because all the rent's in the area that way. So they kind of feel stuck. You're seeing a lot of people that are in those, that are deciding to go back to like smaller cities, or like they can't afford it anymore. I don't blame them. Rents are ridiculous. And I'm a landlord, and I'll say it, some landlords are just jack butts, when it comes to the rental prices.
Super chat.
Junie with the $5 super chat says, I earn $174,000 a year, $600,000 down payment, save, nervous to take on a $200K loan due to job insecurity. Any advice? Well, that's a huge down payment. That's $600,000. So I always want to keep as much cash for myself. That's how, every time I've ever bought a house, what do I need to put down? What do I have to put down? If I'm only going to put, like, the max is like 20% down. If I have a bigger mortgage, I don't really care, because I know over time you're going to end up, gaining equity in your house. I personally would not put $600,000 down on your house. I wouldn't even that's more than half, way more than half. I wouldn't do that amount. That's just me personally. I would talk to a financial advisor on that. I wouldn't do more than 20% for me, for myself. I wouldn't put any more than 20% on the house, and then I'd mortgage the rest. And then if the interest rates go down, then I'd refinance and get those interest rates all the way down. If it goes down to 4%, then go ahead and do it right away. Mia's mommy says, question, how experienced should one's real estate agent be? My agent is 19 years old, and any questions I have had to be answered by his dad or other real estate agents. Should I find another RE agent? Mia, if you do not feel comfortable with your real estate agent, at any moment you can ask and request to find another agent. And it's nothing personal. You're just saying, look, this is my experience. I want to find somebody that can answer my questions without going to their dad. If their dad happens to be the broker of the real estate office and he's the one that's answering the questions, call the dad up and say, hey, Dad, can you work with me? I mean, your son's a lovely kid. I love his personality. Don't necessarily like the answers he's giving me because he always has to come for you to get them answered. So can we work together? You're not tied to a person. Even if you sign a buyer's agreement, in many cases, they're not really like held up. And here in Louisiana, I should say, here they're not a buyer's agreement that says that you're going to pay the buyer a commission at the end of the sale. The only time that's ever holds up here is if the person that you saw the house with, the original, like say you saw a house on 123 Elm Street and you saw it with the first agent that you fired, and then you ended up going back and purchasing it with the second agent, then the first agent is entitled to that commission. But if you're going to buy a house that you never saw with the first agent, then you're free to go. I mean, you don't have to work with any real estate agent, just like you don't have to work with any car salesman. Just because you walked in and talked to that person, if you don't like them, just walk away. Walk away. Byron Thomas says, do you see wages or salaries with companies in service industry could be a reason why builders are not building affordable homes? Oh, there's so many different reasons. My biggest concern for the housing market is wages. And I'm starting to see more and more people getting laid off on their jobs, even though the jobs market numbers, which is always a hose whenever they say, oh, the jobs market, we created another 320,000 jobs. I mean, for the last 5 years, it's been bogus. They'll twist those numbers to make them look like anything they want to. People that work in the industry that works like for tips, they are having the hardest time. People don't tip as much, and those people are struggling to work, and then they get tired of it because, anytime you work in customer service, it's really tiring. The only way I can see home prices really tanking across the board, across the United States, is if the job market really just takes a big hammering. And big corporations need to re-look at their plan when it comes to incentivizing people to work for their company. There were so many more incentives even when I first got into my first job. They offered insurance, they offered pensions, they offered, savings plans, they offered medical savings plans. They had all sorts of incentives to make you want to work there, and even tough it out whenever you're like, oh, this manager sucks, but you're like, but the benefits are so good. Not one job is offering really good benefits, and the salaries are the pits, the absolute pits. That's why nobody stays at a job anymore. Like, why work for a company for 30 years when you're unappreciated and you work your rear end off, and they're going to be willing to give you another 57-cent raise. We're going to give you a 57-cent raise for working so hard. I mean, that's just a kick in the teeth. I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird time. It freaks me out because employees are treated like crap. I don't know. Ian says, hi, how often OHS fee can be raised? And HOS? Are you talking about homeowners associations? How often can they be raised? That they're voted on every time. If you're talking about HOA, every time there's like a meeting, they can raise them, and it will depend on what your covenants say too. Your covenants say they can be assessed twice a year. Other covenants can say once a year. Most of the time, it's only one time a year that they take a look at it and decide if they're going to raise them or not. And they have to give a reason in most cases as well. Like ours went up, and the reason it went up is because we have a pool company that comes in and cleans the pool. We had to hire a new one. It was more. So, I mean, that's what happens. Yeah, HOA. Yep. Yep. Excuse me. I burped. A little burpy burp. Question. What are examples of boxable homes being built? Where are the, that's exactly what I'm saying. Where are the examples of the boxable homes that people are living? That's exactly what I'm saying. I have not seen anybody, not one person. And if someone can point me in the direction of anybody that's actually has one of their homes and is living in it and has lived in it, let's just say, I'll even give it 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. Like, show me in your backyard, please. I would love to see it, because I have yet to see a real person have it either in their backyard or on a piece of property. Elon Musk does not count to me. He does not count as a person that actually lives in one. It does not count. They'll write an article about it, but it doesn't count. Joyce has a question. Can you talk about USDA loans? No, I can't. I can tell you what I know about them. I'm not a lender, so what I know about them is they can give you 103% financing, meaning that you can use some of what you would finance in your closing costs. You also have to have it in a house, has to be marked in a rural area. So like if you live in the city of New York, you're not going to be considered rural, but there's all sorts of areas in New Jersey that would be considered rural that will allow for that rural development loan. You can go on the USDA website, type in the address and see if it qualifies for rural development. I'll also tell you that in some areas, it takes a long time for those to get accepted. So let's just say the average time for a standard loan would be 45 days. Sometimes with the USDA, they could take up to 65 days, but that isn't always true. It just depends on where you are in the line, in the queue. But that's what I know about USDA loans. If you want to know more about USDA loans, you can always visit my friend Trevor Smith on YouTube. I think he's called the Mortgage Wingman on YouTube, but Trevor Smith, he's the one you want to talk to about USDA loans. That's the overview that I have for you. Gamer G says homes vary in Florida, Tampa, Orlando. Anything less than 350,000 is still a war, but most are flocking to Lakeland. And yes. And so that's another thing too. There are still bidding wars going on to this day, all over Chicago. If you're on the lower end price range of homes, those first starter homes, super expensive. The fact that the starter home is 350,000 or anything less than 350,000 is absolutely crazy to me. The house we sold for it was 230. That house is over $400,000 now in Orlando. That house is not, I already know, I lived in it. It was not worth, it wasn't worth 280 when we sold it. It wasn't worth, it isn't worth 400,000 now. It's crazy. In Florida, my client's homeowners insurance is not only went up 300, but then they're up and left. So that is a problem that's going on all through Florida. And I don't know what mortgage companies are doing. Are they requiring, this would be interesting to have an agent from Florida on here. So if your home insurance company drops you in Florida, usually the mortgage company will say, well, we see that your insurance has lapsed. We're going to go ahead and sign you on to this this insurance company, and you're going to have to pay this amount. That happened to us once because I was late. I was like, what the heck? What's this? And then I found out what happened. If there's no insurance company to fill in the gap, is there like a state insurance on that? I'm going to have somebody from Florida come in here and talk about it. The last time we were on, I want to mention that somebody had asked for an agent in San Antonio. So next weekend, we are going to have an agent from San Antonio talk about that market, because it's like we were talking about how it's a tale of two housing markets. one side of the housing market is still like on fire and the other side of the housing market is not doing well. So he's going to come on here and talk about his housing market and what's actually going on in San Antonio. It's crazy. Ians has a question. Eddie, I already answered that one. How often can they be raised? I already answered that. All right. Max Collins has a question. There's a house that is being foreclosed on and it keeps failing to meet the reserve, cash only. Bank won't give me a department to talk to in an attempt to buy through financing and advice. Any advice? So is it like on an auction website? I need to know what website's on. And sometimes if you're putting in a bid, you can say, oh, it's only cash. Well, it could be cash only because it won't qualify for loan packages. Like, not just because you have a VA loan, that doesn't mean the house itself qualifies for VA. Because you have a FHA loan, it may not qualify for an FHA loan. That could be the reason. If there's numerous problems with the house that aren't being, like, you may not know about, maybe the reason why it's a cash only deal. So. And if it's on an auction website, normally you can check off the little box that says this is being financed, and they'll gray out the areas that with the specific financing they won't allow for. What is about this digital money? What is this about digital money? I'm not sure. I don't know what you're asking. Now, you can't buy a house. People have bought, I don't even know why they would do this, but there were lots of people that bought houses with Bitcoin there for a hot minute and some Ethereum. I've yet to close one of those. I heard about it. Somebody asked about it, but it never happened under my watch. I don't know how the title company handles that. Gamer G has a question. What will you do a video about a 40-year mortgage? Can't wait to see it. Trevor will probably do the one about the 40-year mortgage. Every time I ever do a video about mortgages, it does terrible. Nobody watches it. I'll give you my opinion though. You're not going to save that much money on a 40-year mortgage. You're just going to add more time that you're going to be paying the bank. You're adding more time to your interest, and you're actually just paying the bank more money for that house. You're not saving anything by adding another 10 years to your mortgage. Your payment wouldn't go down significantly enough to make that much of a difference. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it at all. But they've tried the 40-year and 50-year mortgages before, and they were never successful. People didn't buy into it. I don't know. I don't agree with it. But then again, I didn't know that you could finance a freaking car for 7 years. Like, I was like, what the heck? But then again, some of the cars are like $50,000 for a brand new car. That's ridiculous. My next car I'm buying, by the way, I've decided I'm going to buy one of those cars that has like no GPS on it. It has no like any of the things that are in the connected to satellites and stuff. Not for any other reason except for, like, I don't want anything that's going to break that's going to cost stupid money. Like, I never use my GPS system in my car for anything. So I'm just going to buy one of those like cars from the early 2000s before they had all those onboard computer garbage on there. Suzanne has a question. Do you think the rumored 15-minute restrictions, carbon footprint, create restrictions on? I don't know how to answer that. Sorry, phone fell. The rumored carbon footprint restrictions on buying land in the boonies. There's so much going on with the environmental stuff now. Like, I know there's people that buy land here in Louisiana just for remediation. Like, so you buy a piece of land and part of it's wetlands and you're like, well, I'll remediate it out. So then you purchase this other land that's already been used for the wetlands to add to it. That's a thing. That's like a whole business that people get into. I think it's kind of a racket. I don't know. I don't know. Lawnmower wants me to put a baby goat on my mortgage video, so they'll make more clickbait. Yeah, that or a baby or a cat, a baby, a cat, a dog, a puppy, any of those things. I do have a kitten that I can throw on there. It's Nick has a question. If I'm in land cash and want to have a smaller home built, how would I even know what the cost would be? Let's just say I did this in North Carolina since it's cheap, but the homes are expensive. So first, Nick, you're going to have to see what the restrictions are in the area when you buy that piece of land. They might have a size restriction no matter where you live. You can live out in the boondocks and nowhere, but they still have a size restriction of 600 square feet. You're also going to have to find out what kind of things they allow for it. You're going to have to find out if that piece of property is going to be required to have a well on it. You're going to have to do a lot of investigation ahead of time before you decide to plant roots in North Carolina and build your small house. And you still have to meet local code. Like there's still code enforcement no matter where you live. Do they enforce it? I don't know. You have to find out. Some places have code enforcement, but you never see anybody. Or some code enforcement, you just go, "Hey Johnny, let me give you $10." And you're like, "All right." I'm not saying it hasn't happened. Floyd has another question. It says, "I remember seeing 60-year mortgages offered in California last year. Who's going to outlive that mortgage?" A lot of laughs. So Floyd, no joke. My dad is in his 80s and he financed a house when he was still in his 70s, a 30-year mortgage. And he walked out there. He goes, "I was shocked they gave me a mortgage for 30 years. I said, "Why is that?" He's like, "Boy, they have high expectations of my longevity with that 30-year mortgage." I said, "Dad, they can't age discriminate. They can't age discriminate." If they still had a 60-year loan package today and you were 90 years old and you walked into a lending institution and say, "I want that 60-year mortgage," they could not refuse you because you're 90 years old. They cannot refuse you. Wild, right? Question: how well do barndominiums resell, and what is their resale value? That is completely specific to your area. Now, like here in Louisiana, they resell fantastic. They really do resell very well. In areas of Texas, they resell very well. But that is not true of everywhere in the United States. You have to get with somebody that's an expert in alternative affordable housing in your area to give you a price estimate of how much things are either going up or declining. Just like manufactured homes, the people will make a blanket statement on manufactured homes, like, what some people call mobile homes or trailer homes. They'll say they never increase in price. That is not true in a lot of areas. Now, if you live in a park, yes, that's true. But if you have it on a piece of land, most of the time it's not true, especially if you maintain it. You just have to work with somebody in your specific area that understands barndominiums and how much they go up. I also would talk to several builders in the area as well, and talk to the people that live in barndominiums and have had them for a period of time to give you advice, because they'll have the best advice and tell you a lot of things you never knew about with living in those. So what are barndominiums? Barndominiums, they like some here in Louisiana, they look like metal buildings. They're on a very thick slab. They look like a barn. When you open the door, it looks like a house. There's a total house. Now, some barndominiums here will be, in some other areas, a barndominium looks just like a barn. It looks like a total regular wood barn. Again, when you open the doors, it's a full-on house. But here, they'll have it like, the middle section would be like for their RV. The left-hand side, again, this is a metal building in Louisiana. The left side would be like a little house. They're usually about 700 to 900 square feet. On the other side will be like a workroom for the husband to do his job. A lot of times people that work in construction and stuff will live in these barndominiums for a period of time before they build their actual house. It's pretty common here. And they're wonderful. The noise, though, when it rains, holy cow. Those metal roofs are so loud. They've improved that, though, because they put that foam insulation, so it's gotten a little bit better. But no, I don't like it. I don't like it. Eddie's got another question for us. I live in Japan. They had 100-year mortgages. The average house was over $1 million. Wow. Wow. My oldest daughter always wanted to live in Japan. The food's good there. I want to go. I want to go. I don't want to buy a house. I can't afford $1 million house. I know that's probably shocking. No, I really can't. No, nope. Wait, we're Barndominium is just a way to try to get around zoning and regulations. That's why my uncle did it. Family secret is out, I guess. Okay, so like in Texas, you can get a tax break because they're considered a agricultural building. Agricultural building, so they will cost you less in property taxes. So you can have like a house, but you pay less in property taxes. So that is a thing in Texas. It's not true in every state. Here in Louisiana, people just like them because we have a really like big like family community type thing. Is like people have large parties, they have huge family get-togethers, and they use that open space around the barndominium. They'll have a huge outdoor kitchen and outdoor living space. It's like a thing. It's like a way of life, and they don't save any money on their property taxes. It's just one of those things that people really enjoy here. So yeah, it is a thing in some areas. It is a thing in some areas. Ooh, JSK Anderson with a $10 super chat.
Super chat. Super chat.
Question: if a house had been on the market and then was removed, what would be the best way to contact the owners to find out about buying it? Okay, so this is a really good thing. So you go on your county's website and you find out who the owners are. And then you already know where they live because you have their address. You just find out their names and then craft a really nice letter just saying that you're truly interested in the house and willing to give them an offer, if they're willing to listen to you, that you saw that their house was up for sale and that you removed it from the market, but you don't understand what the circumstances are, but you'd really like to have the opportunity to at least give them an offer on their house. Eddie and I did that once. It didn't work, but at least we tried it. They were nice enough to respond, though. I would write them a letter and have it sent to their house. Sometimes people have contacted people on Facebook, but that can end up in a spam folder, so you may not be able to get a hold of them. Matthew has a quick question. Recently found your channel, recently able to afford a down payment. All the education is 1,000% helpful. Well, thank you, Matthew. I'm glad it is very helpful to you. Really? In Texas? Yes, Byron. Yes, in Texas. All my exes live in Texas. That's not true. I just wanted to say that. Love you. Divine Tarot says, is there a place that you may highly recommend to purchase? Is there a place you can, it would depend on what you want. Like, do you want to live in the cold? If you want to live in the cold, I've been looking at Michigan. I've been looking at, where else have we been looking, Eddie? Rochester. We looked at Rochester. We were looking cold. Oh, and Maine. Maine happens to be the first time in history, in eons, decades, that the population actually grew in the last couple of years. They're pretty excited about that. They had a decrease in population except for the last couple of years. So I can't tell you what your best place is. It will depend on what you're looking for. I wish I could open up the book and say, you can live anywhere and just go like this. And that'd be awesome. Annette Tolbert has a question. Are markets still as risky as Hampton Roads, Virginia, when buying a home? We are still seeing offers, all cash, $325,000, home inspection, escalation clauses, appraisal addendums, 20 plus cash over. Again, that's going to be market specific. Not all markets are going to look like that. I just know that anything around Virginia, Maryland, that area has never stopped. It never stopped increasing in price. Never. From the beginning of the pandemic on, they may have had a slowing in the increase, but they still continued to increase. It's crazy to me. I really thought, especially when interest rates went up, I thought we were going to see more of a decline in home prices, which we never saw. It went flat for a good time, And then most people that were thinking about selling were like, nah, I'm just going to go ahead and hold on to my under 3% or mortgage and stay in this house a little longer. I don't need to sell. I mean, it's crazy. But no matter what the market is, no matter what it is, there's always going to be people that need to sell. And there's always going to be people that need to buy, even in the worst markets. I sold homes during the last what they call housing crash, the last housing bubble. And, I never stopped selling houses. Did I sell as many? No, of course not. But I mean, it's still there. There's always a market no matter when. As long as you got money in your pocket, someone's going to be willing to sell you something. That's for sure. Yep. All right, everybody, we're wrapping this up at 1 hour. If you need me and you want to find a real estate agent in your area, or you just need to talk to me, you can go to my website at KristinaSmallhorn.com. There, you just click on any of the pink buttons, fill out the referral form, and I will help you out. I'll give you a call too. If you leave your phone number, please leave your phone number, because I can't call you if you don't. All right. And I also want to let you know, next week we do have somebody coming in from San Antonio, Texas. We're going to be talking about that market. I want to say thank you to all of our super chatters today. Thank you so much. You helped the channel keep going. If you don't know, we're also on podcasting. So any kind of podcast site you can think of, we're on it. Look, Real Estate for Everyone with Kristina Smallhorn. You can find us there. And one last thing, I want to say thank you to the moderators for always keeping the chat all nice and crispy clean. We don't have any of the spammers out in the woods. I appreciate you. You always are really wonderful. And see, even Debbie Brady, I wanted to let everybody know, smash that like button on the way out. Thank you so much, everybody. You have a fantastic week. And let me know in the comment section after this is done if there's anything specific you want to talk about besides the San Antonio market. Bye, everybody. Have a fantastic weekend. Woo!